Hello, my name is Sarah, and in this video, I'll be giving you a brief introduction to science policy interfaces, one of the main research topics in the Lanusyncon project. A science policy interface, also known as SPI, is the exchange of evidence between individuals, primarily scientists, policymakers, and local traditional knowledge holders, who then can use this information to influence the outcomes of policy decisions. SPIs are typically structured in the form of boundary or intermediary organizations, such as research projects, institutes, interest groups, advisory bodies, panels, and platforms. SPIs serve a crucial role in the co-evolution and joint construction of knowledge among relevant stakeholders in order to foster concerted action on complex environmental issues. Therefore, the main objective of SPIs is to maximize the use of evidence-based advice in international conventions and national policies, contributing to informed policy debates, behavioral changes, social learning, and improved environmental governance. Structured environmental SPIs initially emerged in the 1970s, in parallel with the proliferation of global environmental regimes and agencies, such as the United Nations Environment Program in 1972. With the formation of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change in the 1990s, a trend unfolded for a systematic approach of consensus-based intergovernmental knowledge production at the international level. Over the past 20 years, scholars observe a shift from the linear model established by the IPCC to a more collaborative, dynamic, and inclusive model that engages more stakeholders, combats silo thinking, shares responsibilities, and institutionalizes diverse knowledge systems in a two-way flow of evidence and information. Currently, majority of SPIs collect expert inputs on solutions to environmental issues and the impacts of these solutions rather than just problem definition. There is also an array of SPI types across national, regional, and global scales. On the one hand, there are highly institutionalized, recurring, and participatory SPIs, like the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. And then on the other hand, there are informal, one-time, and unstructured SPIs like multi-stakeholder workshops on biofuels. Science policy interfaces are vital to building a sustainable society. They make understandable and up-to-date knowledge accessible to decision makers by interweaving expertise and politics for an effective societal response to complex, uncertain problems. The most common function of SPIs is to inform policymakers on different pathways to meeting environmental objectives through solutions-oriented assessments on historical drivers, plausible futures, and response strategies. These assessments necessitate specific procedures involving activities like scoping and review, expert nominations, formation of authoring teams, and plenary negotiations on the final text of the multi-chapter assessment reports. SPI processes are an essential factor in the effectiveness of SPIs in performing key functions and achieving tangible outcomes, especially when engaging multiple stakeholders. The effectiveness of an SPI is assessed according to three main criteria: credibility, which is the perceived validity of information, methods, and procedures exchanged in SPI. Then there's relevance, which is the perceived usefulness of generated knowledge by an SPI and its applicability to policy and societal needs. And finally, legitimacy, which is the perceived fairness, balance, and political acceptability of SPI processes. The objectives of SPIs are not always materialized due to different weaknesses that may contribute to the silo thinking of environmental governance processes and policy incoherence. In Lanusyncon, we plan to examine these documented weaknesses of SPIs, particularly pertaining to the under-researched capacity gap of SPIs in coping with the complexity of interlinked land use issues, as well as the evident divide between international SPIs and national decision makers in sub-Saharan Africa. The identification of problems in SPIs is based on findings from previous studies that demonstrate a detachment between SPI outputs and social-political contexts, minimal coordination among different SPIs and their associated organizations, and then there's a lack of capacity and financial support for SPIs to manage broad, balanced stakeholder engagement and timely delivery of outputs. These constraints within SPI processes pose a risk of undermining the capacity of SPIs to influence policies and tackle the increasing complexity of pressing societal problems, such as rampant land use change. So by enhancing the collective understanding on the limitations of SPIs and ways to overcome them, Lanusyncon can help accelerate the institutional shift towards cooperative, continuous, transdisciplinary SPIs that are capable of effectively communicating the complex interactions of policy objectives for sustainable development, and then to suggest best practices for interlinked issues.